down below, would you believe? So, anyway, any crime committed, you were brought here, but it was a jail, not a prison. Huh? And it's a difference, because basically, a prison you're locked up and put in prison for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it happens to be. A jail was you were only kept here until the trial. So, and there were 4 trials a year: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. So if you missed the summer assizes, then you stayed here until the autumn assizes. And then, if you were found guilty, punishment was then meted out on it, and it wasn't imprisonment. It was being whipped to the cart's tail till your back be bloody. So you were tied to the back of a horse and cart, stripped to the waist, and whipped with a cat o' nine tails through the streets of Derby, and then back here, put you back in your cell and rub salt into the wounds, if you were still alive. And depending on the severity of your crime, you might be taken out again next week, and the same thing done to you again. Or transportation to America, as it was originally, and then the Spice Islands, the Caribbean, and then Australia. Or being branded with a red hot branding iron on the side of your cheek with a letter T for thief. That's like an early form of CRB check. Yeah. You try going to a jewellery shop with a great T on your face. Yeah, out. Or of course hanging. And from 1723 there were 222 hanging offences in this country. Think of it, trust me, it was a crime punishable by death. The crime rate had exploded beyond belief because of industry and people moving into towns, living in squalid conditions on low wages. And so the government decided the best way of getting rid of the criminals of this country was to kill them, to hang them. So stealing a sheep, stealing a cow, stealing a horse, shop breaking, house breaking, burglary, murder, attempted murder, rape, attempted rape, setting fire to haystacks. 4 men were hanged in front of this building in 1817 for setting fire to a haystack at South Wingfield in Derbyshire. In the same year, 3 men were hanged and beheaded in front of this building for high treason. The last beheading with an axe in Great Britain took place in front of this building in 1817. Shooting rabbits, poaching, appearing on the street with a sooty face was a hanging offence in Great Britain, because it's camouflage creep. You know, you're either a poacher or a burglar. And well, a chimney sweep. Well, I suppose they didn't work at night, did they? I presume. It was incredible. It was terrible. Anyway, now then, let's talk about it. I'm going to carry on a bit. I'm going to do you a quick tour before I leave and go to sleep in a bit, because I've just come back from a place called Alnwick, which is near Scotland. Anyway, that's beside the point. So, hanging was the way of getting rid of the population. But just think what I've said, because you could be hanged for murder. Now, we hanged a guy in front of this building in 1815. He hacked his niece and nephew to death with a gorse fork. It's not a nice bit of equipment, that. It's like a scythe, but straighter. The little boy of 8 put up a fight, and he hacked him to pieces. And the little girl of 4 was beheaded by him, by their uncle. God knows why. I mean, I haven't got a clue why. It's a place called Hulland Ward near Derbyshire. And he lived with his brother and sister-in-law and the kids, and they went out. Mum and Dad went out for the day, and he decided to hack the children to death while they were gone. Then we've got a guy that shot 3 rabbits and brought them home and skinned them for his kids. He got 9 kids and his wife pregnant with a 10th kid. Right? He was out of work. The children were starving. And he shot 3 of Lord so-and-so's, Lord Scarsdale's rabbits on his estate, and it's a hanging offence. Think about it. And so was the guy that hacked his niece and nephew to death. I mean, number one, did Lord Scarsdale need those rabbits? Did he eat rabbit? How many rabbits would be on his 3,000 acre estate? I cannot imagine. He didn't eat rabbit. He ate venison and roast beef and yeah, but it's a hanging offence. It's unfair, don't you think? So, in 1752, the church, God bless them, and the government decided that they needed to make the punishment fit the crime. And they created in 1752 a terror beyond death. terror beyond death? Anybody? Marriage? Careful, Richard. Yeah. Come on, guys. A terror. What the hell is worse than death?
Who's cooking?
Think about it. Yeah. Some people say torture. No,
Yeah.
torture was illegal in England. Torture, branding somebody on the side of the face. That's torture, but it's actually illegal in England, not in Scotland, or not in Europe. They're still torturing us now in Europe. But it's actually it's illegal. So you can't torture someone. Someone did come up the other week and said, well, killing all of the family of the person that did the murder. I think that's a bit extreme to say no. We didn't do that either. So a terror worse than death.
Psychological somehow.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, but it is psychological. Basically, the Murder Act of 1752 stated that no murderer was allowed to be buried. Ooh. Okay. No laid to rest, no closure. You know, because in those days, more than now, people craved a decent, but they needed to be laid. Right, hang on, let's think about it. You're not in a hurry, are you? Right, you know that poor lad that died, the Argentinian lad from, was it Cardiff football team that died about 2 years ago in a plane crash?
Yeah.
Well, they went down and got him out, didn't they? Found his body and brought him home and gave him. What about the pilot?
Yeah.
They never found the pilot. I mean, I don't think of course they looked for him, but they never brought him up. What about his family? What do his wife and kids think now? No closure for them, is there? Well, that's 21st century. You imagine what it was like in the 1700s, because everybody craved 6 foot of English earth, a gravestone with their name on it, the family round the grave, and a Christian burial service to lay them to rest. Now, if you're not at rest, where are you? You're abroad, you're wandering the earth as a tormented soul for eternity. Yeah, you're a ghost, in other words. Yeah, that's what happened. So, we've got all this business about laying them to rest. So, hang on a minute, what are we going to do with the body if we're not going to bury it?
Then?
The bin?
Then?
Who?
Then?
Burn? Burn? No. No. The sentence for a murderer from 1752 was that you be hanged by the neck until you are dead and publicly dissected in the Shire Hall in whatever town it was here in Derby. So after you were dead, or hopefully dead, because you've got to remember in those days hanging was slow. Anything up to 20 minutes to die at the end of a rope, dangling at the end of the rope, kicking, writhing, choking, vomiting, and so hanging was a slow process. And there is a possibility that even after half an hour, if you were a hardened criminal with what they refer to as a thick bull neck and an incredible sense of self-preservation, and it was winter and hypothermia sets in, then you could still be alive after half an hour. So you're taken down, and then you were taken to the Shire Hall and laid on a dissecting table. The first thing they did was wire you up to a battery called galvanism, and they made one of your legs go up in the air and your eyes blink and your chest. People fled and thinking they were coming back to life. And guess what? It wasn't far from the truth, was it? How do we bring people back to life? Yeah, exactly. Anyway, after that, after playing about with you a bit like that, the next thing they did was remove everything and put it into bottles and jars for the furtherance of medical science. They skinned the body, they flayed the body, as it's called, took the body to the local the skin to the local tan yard here in Derby in Full Street, and tanned the skin and used it to bind books telling of your life and trial. If it was a big enough piece of skin, then they'd make a pair of slippers for the local mayor out of your skin as a souvenir. Your bones were boiled in a big cauldron to get the meat off them, and then they wired them back up, made them into a skeleton. There's one in the murder room down there in a bit. You'll see that in a bit. And most old skeletons in hospitals are of hanged people, old ones. But the punchline of this whole story is the body wasn't whole anymore, and that meant on the day of judgment, no material resurrection for you. Where are you going to go then? Straight to hell and burn in hellfire for how long? 10,000? No, 10,000. How hot? 10,000 degrees centigrade. Forever, eternity, with gnashing of teeth and ripping of flesh and all the terrors of Dante's Inferno. They believed all this. Bollocks. I mean, these guys that become ghosts believed all of this stuff that the church was preaching to them, basically, and they were terrified, not of death, but of the afterlife. Whether they went up or whether they went down was paramount to people in those days. So you are condemning the murderer not only to death, but to eternal damnation and burning in hellfire for eternity. They knew this in the condemned cell. Obviously, of course they did, before they were killed. And so they stayed behind. They couldn't get in through the pearly gates, because some people wouldn't let them in. Certainly not going down there, thank you very much, I'll stop here, thanks. Yeah. And it's caused ghosts, big time, to stay behind, in places like, in jails, prisons, because they were absolutely terrified of this. But not only the murderers, but everyone that came through these gates and these doors into this place believed themselves sinners, destined for hell, and were terrified of what came next after death. It's caused ghosts big time. Anyway, done that bit, so I've explained a little bit. So what you're going to get mainly in this building and the other building you go to, the other jail, is what I refer to as 40% of ghosts, which are an intelligence. Because I'm going to tell you about it. I believe that the other 60% of ghosts are actually nothing more than a recording held in the fabric of the building. Have you heard of stone tape theory?
Yeah.
I'm big into this. I'm telling you. I'm going to explain it to you a bit and try and reason with you and get you to believe that most ghosts are recordings, but not all ghosts. So let's start at the beginning. First things first. You're here tonight on a ghost hunt. What does the word ghost mean? When I wrote the book, which is on sale over there, not $14.99, signed copies, I've only got two left. Right, I thought I'd better explain what the word ghost means. Yeah? Right. So come on. What does it mean? Come on, anybody. We are fascinated by ghosts. All of the whole world. For hundreds of years we've been. What does the word ghost mean?
For me, it's like you say, it's a recording of the incident.
Yeah.
Recording of their life.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But no, the word, just this little word, G-H-O-S-T, right? Okay. Oxford English Dictionary, the disembodied spirit and soul of a dead person. Sorry, no, nothing like it. The word ghost comes from a Proto-Indo-European word, well over 4,000 years old, goizd, G-H-O-I-D-Z. Guess what it means? You won't. We haven't got all night, so I'll tell you. To be frightened of. Anything that walks through the wall, footsteps going up the stairs when you can't see anybody there, doors opening and closing unless Stuart Torrivel's behind it, slamming it shut.
The number one fan.
Or Carl Beattie, or any of the sound crew, or anybody, not me. Things flying off the mantelpiece, pictures coming off the wall, bangs, taps, bumps, raps, anything that we don't understand, we're frightened of. Right, so from that word, goizd, G-H-O-I-D-Z, comes the German word Geist, poltergeist, Geist, G-H-W-S-T, the Flemish word, Gost, G-O-S-T, which is Middle English, Gost, and the Old English word Gast, G-H-A-S-T. When William Caxton came over here from Holland or Belgium, one of the two, with his printing press in the 1400s, he took every word we got and put it into print for the first time. And he took the Middle English word Gost, G-O-S-T, but he spelt it with a silent H, which is the Flemish way of spelling. And we got our ghost. Just wind back a bit to the Old English word gust. Have you ever been aghast at something?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen something ghastly?
Yeah.
It's frightening. That's all it means. We have to change it. It's ghost means to be frightened. Don't fear what you don't understand. But we do. Of course we do. We don't understand it. And we're in the Middle Ages still. We are still in the Middle Ages with ghosts. I've seen a ghost. A ghost moved this. Did it? Or was it an energy that moved it? because the word I want to start using is energy instead of ghost.
Yeah.
But it won't work, because if I advertised an energy walk, nobody'd go on it. True, isn't it? You would not be here tonight on an energy vigil at Derby Jail, would you? No, exactly, so it won't work. But that's what it's all about, energy. That's what we are, that's what ghosts are. Energy that leaves the body on point of death and goes somewhere. Don't ask me where. I'll tell you. I haven't been yet. So, we'll start at the beginning. Right, so we've done that bit, just very quickly. 40% of ghosts are the spirit and soul of a dead person, an intelligence, consciousness, energy, soul, spirit, ego. You personally is what they are. And in an ideal world, the energy that was you, not the body, that's the vessel that held the energy. That goes somewhere. That goes into the ground and becomes energy. It's fertilizer for daffodils. But the you is set, because first law of thermodynamics, you can either create or destroy energy. So that energy that is you has to go somewhere. And I don't know where yet. But in an ideal world, it goes to wherever it should go to. But it isn't an ideal world. So sometimes they don't go where they should do. Sometimes by accident. But the real reasons I give is, number one, they've got unfinished business. And they were murdered they were murdered, no one found the murderer. They were executed for a crime they didn't commit. And they're still waiting for justice to, misguidedly, because it's 350 years, it ain't going to happen to them now, but they're still here. They're still waiting for closure, for justice to be done to them. So that's really number one. Or they've got a job or a hobby they loved so much, and they never finished it. And so they're still here, they're still hanging around, for want of a better word. That's number one. Number two, they like it here. And they stayed behind, not necessarily here. Well, actually we have got the guy that likes it here and stays here. But it was their job, their baby, their life, and they've stayed behind. I could bore you for more hours than I'm going to bore you with accounts that I've got of people's houses that've got ghosts in them, that's got the previous occupant that hasn't moved on because they loved it so much. And it's usually when you start doing a bit of work on the house that it disturbs them. Yeah. There's always someone, well, there's a couple of you start doing, you have the wall pulled down, the wallpaper taken off the old girl's bedroom, whatever, and they don't like it, they want to know what you're doing, because they still think they live there, and this is fact, this is real. No, this isn't Scooby-Doo stuff, this is actual fact. So, you've got people that as I say, have stayed behind, or you've got Fred from the factory, that it was his machine, he worked there 40 years. Never had a day off, first in the morning, last out at night, work weekends, never married. Fred dies, and 2 weeks later someone sees this figure standing at the machine. It's his machine. He stayed behind with it. And this happens so often. A guy here, the longest serving jailer at Derby Jail, he's still around, he's still here. I won't give any names away at the moment, just in case, but he's still around, I can assure you. Then you've got ghosts that don't know they're dead. Lots of them. The nature of their death, the trauma, it's so quick, so instantaneous. A trainee pilot from the Second World War makes a mistake and his plane hits the ground at 350 miles an hour. He didn't get time to blink, never mind prepare himself for death. And the poor lad spent the rest of eternity walking across the apron of the airfield towards the control tower for orders. Is the war still on? Yeah, I'm sorry, it was a bad landing. Can I have another Spitfire? I messed that one up. Honestly, it's there. There isn't an airfield in this country that hasn't got ghosts on it, big time. And there is an unwritten law. Anybody to do with the RAF in any way? No, yeah? Yep. Okay. You now or was or?
Was. My dad was in the RAF.
Okay. Well, there's an unwritten law. I don't know whether he knows this or not. There's an unwritten law on all RAF airfields that any RAF personnel, including dog handlers, that refuse to go into the haunted hangar or the haunted part of the airfield, they will not be put on a charge. That's how seriously the Ministry of Defence, the Royal Air Force, take the fact that their airfields are haunted. this is fact. So that's number 3. And the big one, my favourite, right? Have you ever heard of the ghost of a caveman? I'm not saying there's none, but there aren't many. Trust me, there aren't many cavemen. People say, well, why don't we see ghosts of dinosaurs? Well, dinosaurs are a bit different. You ask why I say, why don't we see ghosts of badgers? It's different. Yeah, dinosaurs weren't pets, were they? Well, I don't know anyone who had a pet dinosaur. Anyway, there's very few ghosts of cavemen. There's also very few ghosts of young lads wearing a hoodie, smoking a joint with his backside hanging out of his jeans, walking through a council house wall.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's none, again, but there's very few, because basically there are very few ghosts from more than 2,000 years ago, and there's not many ghosts from today, compared to. So something happened 2,000 years ago that's caused an awful lot of ghosts. Religion, yes, but we've always had that. All of them have all been created for one reason: control. But 4,000 years ago we had a religion called Mithras, and they had a fertility festival every year called. It was always around Easter time. April, and do you know what it's called? Ishtar. Ishta. Do you know what the symbols were for it? Bunny rabbits and eggs. Nothing new, is there? No. That was nicked by Christianity, of course, as was all pagan stuff as well. All stolen, all nicked. You do know that the Vatican is on a pagan site?
Yes.
Yeah? Yeah, incredible. Anyway, so 2,000 years ago, Christianity came on the scene, and the Emperor Constantine, big statue of him in York, he was a pagan, but his mum was a Christian. She was St. Helen, keeper of the cross. And he realised mum's religion was going somewhere big time, so he nicked it, he hijacked it, and called it the Roman Church. And realised it was a very good way of controlling us through fear, and invented all of the terrors that have kept us under control for the best part of 2,000 years. 10 Commandments, 7 deadly sins, 4 mortal sins, Judgment Day, purgatory, hellfire, damnation, Beelzebub, Baal, the devil, demons, the Antichrist, witches. All of this stuff that people in those days were terrified of all of this. And so you broke the commandment, you've committed a mortal sin. Where are you going to go? Did it earlier, straight to hell. And people knew that, so it's a case of, well, I ain't going up, I can't get in up there, I ain't going down there, I'll stop here. And it's caused a lot of ghosts to stay behind, basically because, well, Christianity is ruled by fear for nearly 2,000. We're losing it now, thank goodness. Paganism is the one that's coming back. People believing that we came from Mother Earth and go back to Mother Earth, which is, in my opinion, what it's all about. I really do. So that's dealt with 40% of ghosts, and I think that that's mostly what you're hopefully going to encounter tonight, an intelligence that's still here, that not necessarily frightening, because they're not there to get you, because they were you and me once, and most you and me's are very nice. Not all of us, but most people are, so that means most ghosts are alright. But again, we're frightened because we don't understand it. But the other 60% of ghosts, I believe to be nothing more than a recording held in the fabric of the building, in the sandstone, in the bricks, in the clay. Right, stone tape theory. Sandstone, limestone, granite, clay, bricks, glass, quartz, crystal, cement, concrete, sand, porcelain, they're all made of silica. That is silica, pure silica. Silica makes up the whole of the Earth's crust, rock. Half the Earth's crust is oxygen, which is negative. The other half of the Earth's crust is positive, and it's made of silicon. And when the two come together, one negative, one positive, it creates silicon dioxide, SiO2, silica. Right, what's your microchips made of in your computer? What sort of chips are they? Oven chips? Sorry? Silicon chips! What do they hold?
Memory.
Oh, hang on, we're halfway there. Memory, data, recording, halfway there. Right, okay. The redder the sandstone in the building, and there's some very red bits of sandstone, you can see a bit, put lights on in here. The redder the sandstone in the building, the redder the bricks, the redder the clay in the ground, the more iron oxide there is in it, which is rust, which is magnetic. Actually, I'm there. Because we've actually got the same components in a brick wall or a red sandstone building as you have in an old-fashioned cassette or tape, or reel-to-reel tape, or mini DV tape in your camera. Right? But who'd have thought 100 years ago that I could get a piece of sticky tape, acetate, silica tape, it's a cassette, yeah, and sprinkle the iron oxide particles onto it, that I could record onto it? Yeah, it's a cassette tape. It holds a recording. That's not. Yeah, today's magic will be tomorrow's science. That's the next one, right? So that's that. But you don't think that the brick wall or the sandstone wall or the clay in the ground can also hold a recording, but it does, right? Now, you can accept the cassette tape. Any of you that can remember a cassette tape or a mini DVD, you can accept that we make a recording with that. Yeah. I mean, that's probably digital, is it? It's not got a tape in it, has it?
No, it's got a tape in it, no.
No, but if it's got a tape in it, you can accept that that was recording what I'm saying now. But how does it make the recording? What's in it that makes what helps it? There's a tape in there, but you have to do something to make it record. You have to press a button and a red light comes on.
Yep.
An on button.
Yep.
Because in there is what? Energy. There's a battery in it.
Yeah.
Yeah? So you accept that, it's not a problem. But how do we make the recording in the brick wall, in the castle, or the stone in the castle, or the old cottage, or the stately house? Where does the energy come from to make the recording that we call a ghost? It comes from you.
The energy.
Because we are nothing but energy. Each one of us, no wonder it's getting warm in here, emits 2 kilowatts of electricity in a 24-hour period. Not at this moment, but in a 24-hour cycle, each one of you here emits 2 kilowatts. But you have within you a power reservoir that you can use in time of crisis. I'm sure you've heard of stories of mothers being able to lift cars off children.
Yeah.
I have. A policeman standing here talking to me about 5 years ago lifted a Ford Cortina off a biker.
Wow.
When he saw the smoke coming out the engine.
Yeah.
He says to me, my mates ring me all the time, said, come on, car park, let's see you do it. He said, I can't. But his words to me, I've got the Derby Telegraph all about this stuff. He says to me, Richard, it was featherlight. Because in time of crisis he had to do it. A Royal Marine in Afghanistan pulled a Land Rover that was upside down in the stream. Got a young Royal Marine that was still in the Land Rover, upside down, drowning, severely injured, but strapped in. And the Royal Marine pulled the Land Rover, the upside down Land Rover, out of the stream on it. Yeah, it's true. It was in the Daily Mirror. It must be true, mustn't it? No, it is true. The lad's still alive, and the Royal Marine's been given an award for saving his life. But he can't remember doing it because it's impossible. You can't pull an upside down Land Rover out of the street on your own, but you can in time because you summon this power reservoir and all of this 2 kilowatts of electricity to do superhuman things in time of crisis. What's the most critical thing that's going to happen to you? Death. Other than marriage. Death. Yeah. And so the energy that you emit resisting death is known as a death flash. The photons in your body that you emit resisting death or dying are 1,000 times greater than they are when you're normally functioning. And that's the energy that causes the recording in the fabric of the building. Question: why aren't all ghosts stark naked? How can you see my shirt? Has it got energy in it or no? Because that's how I was dressed when the recording was made. That's why you see the Roman soldiers walking through Treasurer's house, yeah, with their sandals, their breastplates, the sword. How can you see the ghost of a sword or a shield and a helmet? Because that's how the recording was made. And just to prove that bit, years ago. I did a ghost DVD called Ghosts of Nottinghamshire, and we did a place called East Stoke, near Newark. And it's a fascinating story. Number one, that the bloody brook flows red every year on the anniversary of or around the time of the anniversary of the battle. And secondly, naked soldiers had been seen on the battlefield. And I did this tongue-in-cheek bit, made a bit of a joke about it, but you know. But since then, I've found out that the soldiers that were there were Irish mercenaries in 1487, fighting against Henry VII. Right? Okay. Yeah. And I found out, number one, that the bloody brook that flows red on because the whole of the battlefield of East Stoke is on red marl, red clay, red clay, silica, iron oxide, red clay. And when it rains, it's November when the battle took place. When it rains heavily, the clay turns red and the water flows into the brook and turns red. That's the best. But the best bit was that I found out, God help us all, that in 1487 Irish mercenaries fought naked. No wonder the English ran. But it's fact. And so guess what you see on the battlefield? The recordings of the soldiers naked.
Where is this again?
It's just outside.
Google it, John.
Yeah, it's just outside Newark on Trent. On the way to Lincoln, Newark. But it's a fact and it's real. And so, do you see where I'm coming from? Right, I'm nearly finished this bit now. There's an article in the paper a little while ago about a lady called the Magnetic Lady. And there's a picture of her, and she got spoons hanging from her chest. They stick to her because she actually emits more than the normal 2 kilowatts that most of us emit. Right? Interesting bit this. But she couldn't get a job in IT because she blows up computers, and she also blows light bulbs up. But the punchline of the story was, she said, the more stressed I get, the more light bulbs are there. See where I'm coming from? Extra energy. It's all down to energy coming from us, and energy that cannot be destroyed. So 2 parts here. Number one, back to 40%. It's the energy that leaves the body that is you, your ego, your personality, your soul. And the second bit is the fact that the energy from you can also cause a recording of you to be held in the fabric of. If I was to drop the screen down here now, which I'm like, say we're not going to do a ghost film, we're going to watch a John Wayne film, cowboy film. Would you all run out the building screaming, saying we've just seen the ghost of John Wayne? Get the exorcism in, because he's dead, isn't he? It's the image of a dead person, so we call it a ghost. And I genuinely believe it makes up, God forbid, 60% of what we mistakenly refer to as a ghost. Right, last bit, yeah, okay. There are also things called time slips. And stuff like that cause ghosts as well. And the fact, so any scientists amongst us? Any scientists with letters after the names? Because basically science will not have that ghosts exist. And I've just spent yesterday night and this morning with a neuroscientist in Annie. He got 2 firsts at Cambridge University in neuro. He's a very clever guy. And I had him actually doing table tilting. He was fascinated by it.
Surprised.
But we talk big and hard about the brain and energy and things like that. So I've got some new stuff for the next book now. Absolutely incredible. But basically, he still didn't say no. It's all. He says, "I'm sorry, no, it's not. It's all down to you create the image in your own mind." He said, which is possible. But anyway, that's beside the point. But so science won't have it, and that's my biggest problem because I can't get scientists to help me. Because it's that stupid man off that silly TV programme. Really. And that silly man that does ghost walks. And so science don't want to know. But I need help. Psychiatric for a start. But I do need help as well with what I'm doing, because I'm into the realms of holographic universes and oh dear, all sorts of physics and I'm just not. You know, I left school at 15. I hated science, despised it. But so science. But next time a scientist tells you no such thing as ghosts, and they will, just quote this to them. For the last 400 years at least, men with letters after their names, astronomers, have peered into the night sky through their telescopes, looking at ghosts. Because by the time the image of that dead star travels the millions of light years to the end of his telescope, he is looking at something that no longer exists. The image of a dead star. The ghost of a dead star. Yeah? But there's no such thing as ghosts. Oh yes, there are. Trust me, there are. Any questions? Like, was Derek a core of fate? Sorry!
So do you think the crystal in the stone,
Say again, Miller.
no, the crystal in the stone, no, our energy,
Yeah.
does that make the image come out of the crystal to play? So our energy is making it play?
I mean, in a bit, or if you've got some high power, if you shine, if it's a sunny day which we've had, and you walk along and you see a granite step, or a piece of sandstone like this, if you look at it closer, you will see hundreds of little crystals in the stone. You'll see it today. If you get a torch and shine it on these walls here, you will see silica in the stone. It's a semiconductor, silica is as well. And it holds a recording. There's no doubt about it. But not only does it hold recording, but it also emits energy. And that's the big one. It actually, I'm going to demonstrate it to you in a minute with a crystal, a dowsing crystal. There is energy coming out of stone. That's why they built stone circles, because of the. They understood. Prehistoric man understood far more about the earth and the earth's energy than we do now. But stone not only holds energy, but it emits energy. And so does skull. Oh, I've forgotten the last bit, right. Okay. Dear, oh dear. Yeah, thank you, Peter. Alas, for Yorick. Basically, water contains silica, big time. The best water to drink is Evian. My hand off. It's like sticking your fingers in a 30 amp socket. And the same thing happens with sandstone. Put your hand on there, on the sandstone, hold this and the energy comes from it just the same. It just proves it's energy. This has still got its milk teeth in the top of the jaw. But at least it's here telling a story. You know what I mean? Telling a story rather than being stuck in a gun cabinet in the attic, isn't it? Which is, I think, is quite something. I'll leave it around. I'll put